But let's go into the future as we get ready to wrap up, as we get close to our time limits. When it comes to the future, let's go ahead and say, before we even get to 2024, which is actually where we're going to go, let's go to 2022. What do you envision for things like the midterms? What do you envision for things, just the political future in America?
Well, depending on what statistics you read, some believe that it's very bright for the Republican side. Some believe it's very bright for the Democratic side. Some believe that we're producing more conservative and libertarian belief younger generation, which will be voting soon. Others believe that we're producing more of a liberal generation. So we'll kind of see which statistic was really right there. As far as 2022 goes, if more states keep passing some of these election laws, which are not restricting voting at all, they're restricting ways to cheat. They're not restricting your right to vote. They're not restricting minorities' rights to vote. They're not doing any of that. It's restricting any cheating. That's what it's doing. So if more of these election laws and more states get on board with these, specifically more purple states, such as like Georgia, North Carolina, I guess now Arizona, if they get on board with the election laws and everything, then I think 2022, unless Biden pulls off some miraculous miracle, during the midterms, I think 2022, I think at least the House or the Senate is going to heavily favor Republicans for sure. Because I think people are really ticked off about the election in general. Now that can also play a factor as well. People are ticked off and the government failed them in a sense, so they didn't do anything. It could go either way. I don't know how I see 2022 going, 2022, and then how 2022 goes definitely will depict how 2024 goes, more than likely, if we even have a 2024.
So we'll go into what 2024 could be, but let's like what you just said. Let's say there's not an election. What could that be? Well, for one thing, with the so-called Delta variant coming out, or there could be other things that go on. If there is such disorder and such disunity, and if this talk about the insurrection gets hyped to the point where they say, we basically can't have an election because of civil unrest, or we can't have an election because of illness and sickness and COVID-19. If whatever it is the case, will there be a voting process? Now, here's the thing. This is the problem. They're trying to walk, I think, the people that are really trying to win long term know that if they move too fast, then there's going to be actual civil unrest, and we can't have that. So with that said, will they actually push for this or not? It's going to depend on how people react or if they react, right? So
never underestimate your opponent.
There's that, and that goes for all sides, really. No matter authoritarian, libertarian, right and left.
100%.
So when it comes to that, will there be, and I really hope, and you and I both agree, that there's not some kind of excuse for, this is too risky on a health level, therefore people can't vote, so we're going to delay this. Because if there's any delay, barring something that actually is reasonable, if there's any other delay, it would be a very bad thing for our country, and we don't want to have that. We want to have some kind of rule of law, some kind of representation.
Yeah, I think if this Delta variant that is being hinted at, if it progresses, I think Biden administration, not specifically Biden, because I honestly don't think he's running a lot of this on his own. That's another topic. But the Biden administration could definitely play this in the Democrats' favor, to where, we could go on another lockdown and again cause the economic crisis even worse, to where we can't even have an election, or we don't even need an election anymore because, the Biden administration has everything solved because now everybody's reliant on the government anyway. If this Delta variant gets out of hand too much, intentionally, non-intentionally, whatever, it can be a big problem, and it can cause an issue. So the question is, will we have a 2022 election? I think so. And then how the 2022 election goes, again, depicts how that 2024 election goes.
And there's something you mentioned about Tucker Carlson earlier. We'll say that real quick because that was also big news about. Apparently, he was told, I believe it was by a whistleblower from either I think it was the NSA,
Right.
that they were spying or at least watching him.
Right, and this whistleblower actually read him his emails.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so obviously the NSA, as you said earlier, of course they're going to deny. I knew without even hearing about this that of course the NSA is going to say, well, no, we're not. But they deny everything while also trying to go after Edward Snowden. This shows how dishonest they are.
Right.
So with that being said, we'll cut to, I'm going to show this clip at the end actually. This is something I'm going to edit in of a certain individual who I will name at the end talking about Tucker Carlson and warning the left, and I think this is valid, if you keep pushing Tucker Carlson, he's going to be the next Trump. In other words, Trump was attacked nonstop, and he thought, you know what, this is so bad, I'm going to keep running. And he was cautioning from the left, which is an interesting thing. Don't do this, leftist, because eventually Tucker's going to be like, you know what, maybe I should run. Right. And then he'll run and get attacked and say, you know what, I actually kind of do want to be president. Maybe I can fix this. And he will actually have a shot. And the thing is, love him or hate him, Tucker Carlson is, I think, still the most popular host on Fox News and one of the most popular news shows. Well, I think they've fluctuated, but Tucker does very well. And he's also, love him or hate him, a better spoken person than Trump. And we were kind of talking about Trump's so-called style of being very blunt. And it's not necessarily an intelligence thing. It's a what's the best term? Delivery and a way of handling yourself and carrying yourself. So honestly, the left should fear Carlson more than Trump, even because again, better spoken and maybe more commitment to ideas. I think he might be a little bit more principled than pragmatic even than Trump.
Exactly.
So that being said, the left's got to watch it. But other than that, there's other potential candidates. A lot of people have their eyes on DeSantis, but also we'll show you this clip.
Let me ask the crowd of everybody here, would you like to see the president run again in 2024? You're not going to answer, but I have to ask. Where are you in the process of, let me ask you this, without giving the answer what the answer is, have you made up your mind?
Yes.
So this clip, what we just showed, obviously, was the one involving Trump on Hannity's show. Big news, because he's going to announce that he said that he has made up his mind. Do you think, as it stands now, that the Trumpster will run again?
He has to. I mean, not saying he has to because I want him to. I mean, if there's somebody better, I'd vote for somebody better. But I mean, he's the best option for the Republican Party. I don't think DeSantis is going to leave Florida. He's got too high of an approval rating in Florida in general.
He should at least run for re-election.
Yeah, exactly. Unless, again, they absolutely need him or something, maybe. I don't see anybody else contesting him. There was Kristi Noem, but due to her transgender...
frankly, buckling.
Yeah, buckling and just, giving the politician answer that the Republicans don't want. I don't see her being a strong fit. Candace Owens, maybe, but I think Candace Owens is more looking for a VP spot, honestly.
She's also young.
Yeah, I don't think... I could... if she gets far, I could definitely get behind her. I do like her.
I would want to hear her in the debates. I don't know what her stances are, to be honest. I see some tweets, but I would really want to hear her out.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So,
it'd be funny to watch the leftists like CNN and MSNBC and all this stuff just squirm against this black female conservative, just
who's also a misanthropic white supremacist.
Exactly, yeah. Who does it just doesn't fit their narrative. So I would love to see them attack this black person that's a woman. And it's like, but you're not supposed to do that. It would just at least be interesting to watch it happen. Like you said, Tucker, I could see that more VP spot. I don't think anybody is really strong enough to beat Trump. Again, if anybody else is probably gonna run, or and Trump decides he's not gonna run, I would think it would be one of his sons, like Eric or Don Jr. I think Don Jr. is probably the best bet over if it's not gonna be Trump. I think it would be Don Jr. But yeah, I think Trump will run and he'll win the nomination as far as for the Republicans, and then would he beat Biden? Unless Biden pulls off a miraculous miracle within next 3 years he's got 3 years, something like that, give or take. And unless our elections are messed up or something like that, I think we could see 45 back in office, honestly.
Well, when it comes to 2024, I have some different feelings about what's going to happen. And honestly, Trump's not really on my radar with importance. I've told you I voted for him in 2016 and not 2020,
right.
And you can find on my channel, which is not hard to find, why. There's a video about who I'm voting for and why. So honestly, to me, it'll be more of a policy issue. But if someone like Don Jr. ran again, really, if anyone were to run, DeSantis included, I want to see them in the debates. I want to hear their speeches. I want to see what the ideas are about. To me, it's more of a liberty thing, and you would agree with that, of course. It's about economic prosperity. Right. It's about protection of life, liberty, and property. And Tucker Carlson, same thing. I don't want to hear him out. I've seen his show before. I don't want to hear him his stance. What do you think about foreign policy? What do you think about whether it's the role of government in people's lives? What do you think about guns, the gun issue for sure, but also social issues, things like abortion, which, from what I know, he's very pro-life. So there's different questions to be asked. But when it comes to the political future as well, I have to say I really think there's going to be some infighting. I actually alluded to this off air. There's a lot of Republicans that voted for Trump as like a last resort, kind of reluctantly, a decent amount, maybe not a lot. There's a lot that voted for him enthusiastically, wholeheartedly, but some did not vote for him, and those are like the never Trump type. So this is the big question to me: is where do the never Trumpers go? Let's say if you are somehow, I don't pretend to understand it, you voted for Biden, but I don't think it's a stretch to say that an 82-year-old is going to run for re-election. Yeah. I think you can be a Democrat and say realistically it's not going to happen. So let's say Harris runs, and this goes to the Democrat side. The Democrat Party is going to have an interesting decision. So it's going to be, and again, to me, this is an identity thing. And this is the thing. Let's say, hypothetically, Biden ran against Trump and lost. The progressives, meaning like the AOC types, would have yelled at the moderates, see, we tried to run Bernie Sanders and he lost the primary, then you ran Biden and Biden lost. See, then there would have been a very real split, or at least a divide in the Democrat Party. The fact that didn't happen means that the tea kettle's lid was lifted and the steam kind of rushed out, and it kind of overall tensions kind of cooled. Now the tensions are there. Oh yeah. So the big identity crisis in the Democrat Party is: do we go more of the route of Bernie Sanders or more of the route of the Obamas? Right. Which honestly is not. You and I were talking about this off air. Is not too different. I mean, Obama got a lot of bad stuff from our perspective, on a liberty standpoint, bad stuff done, but he's still better than Bernie Sanders, and it's hard to say, but he's not as extreme, right? Exactly. So when it comes to that, the Democrat Party's got to ask, and it was interesting.
But he's still not even moderate, though. I wouldn't call Obama moderate.
No, but I would say moderate by comparison.
Well, yeah.
And again, not moderate compared to like what I actually think the Democrat Party. Again, the reasonable left, no, not moderate. Yeah. But he's extreme. But then you've got the real extremes, like vacationing in USSR without a shirt. Bernie Sanders on his honeymoon singing the national anthem, that kind of extreme. Yeah. Cannot say anything bad about Castro, that kind of thing. But with that said, also talks about, these countries in Scandinavia being socialist countries, and the prime minister in that country is like, we are not socialist, we are free market countries with social programs. Mr. Sanders, please stop, it's getting kind of awkward now. And they keep calling him that. And so with that being said, and it was interesting to watch in 2019 and 2020, because I remember watching, you'd see Warren and Sanders debating Biden and Buttigieg, and like, which wing of the party is going to win out? And in the end, somehow the Obama wing really won out, meaning Biden being his VP, that wing won out. Yeah. But the thing is, so here's the thing, they're going to have to ask themselves, so let's say Harris runs, which she's going to run for president, whether it's this year is more likely than not, but I would put money on she is going to run rather than Biden for the election. But the Democrat Party is going to have to say, well, are we going to run her unopposed, or is she going to have a primary and there's going to be people running against her? That's honestly going to depend on how popular she is. Yeah. And that's going to depend on what she does in the meantime and what Biden does in the meantime, how popular they are when they leave office or when he leaves office. That depends on, that has yet to be seen. And for now, it's, I don't know. I know overall, a lot of people, at least on the right, see Biden as illegitimate. On the left, that's a little bit different. But we know that Black Lives Matter has not heard from the Biden administration, much to no one's surprise. Because it's like almost like politicians don't always keep their promise. That's such a surprise. But anyway.
And the one that did, we voted out of office.
He was impeached twice, right?
Yeah.
He was impeached twice and accused of inciting a riot and silenced on Twitter.
Exactly. And then we voted him out.
With that being said, it's like the communism hour. Yeah. But with that being said,
it's not your house, it's our house.
Our house. So with that said, there's going to be some infighting on that party, but also on the right, because like, well, what are the Never Trumpers? If the Never Trumpers went over to the Democrat side and voted for Biden, are they going to come back to the Republican Party or not? It's hard to say. Yeah. And the thing is, those that voted reluctantly for Trump, if Trump runs, is anyone going to run against Trump? Which I will say, realistically, you might as well not. If Trump runs, if you're running on the Republican side, you may as well drop out and endorse him. 100%. Practically speaking, you're not going to win. Trump really is running the party, or at least leading the party.
At least leading the party to where they want to go. Sure. And the Republicans, for the most part, I mean, even the Never Trumpers, I think, know that they don't want a politician that is just going to feed them some political answers, of like, well, kind of, sort of, this. No.
Honesty.
You stand.
Honesty and integrity.
Yeah, exactly. Honesty. As much honesty as possible. At least have an opinion. Where do you stand on abortion? Where do you stand on border control? Where do you stand on immigration? Where do you? All that stuff. We want the Republicans in general want something like that. So even the Never Trumpers, at least I think, if there's somebody on the Republican side that does end up trying to oppose Trump, I think they will have to stand on, something.
Huge uphill battle. Very difficult. I think it would be impossible to win, realistically speaking. So with that said, infighting in both parties in the future will be interesting. No matter what happens in 2024, it'll be interesting if there is an election. Right. See what happens. And it could be that it'll be Harris versus Trump, which I gotta say, from a pure spectacle standpoint, will be hilarious to watch, because they both, the joke.
Can't wait to hear that during the debates. Yeah.
This is the worst laugh I've ever heard. I mean, who would want to vote for that? I can just imagine just the spectacle what's going to be.
Man, can we turn off the mics again? Because that's the best thing you could have done for. Then I don't have to hear the laugh, and then I don't have to hear Trump, interrupt every 5 seconds. So
exactly.
That's
a good point. That's hopefully so, and please don't make Chris Wallace the moderator.
Oh, goodness gracious!
Which I don't think anyone would, because of how badly that went down. Really, I think the left and right, neither one liked him. Honestly, I don't think that they thought he wasn't forceful enough for Trump, and the Trump people thought he was unfair. So either way, it's like, come on.
Yeah, it was
unpleasable.
It was bad.
So that being said, what the future holds, it'll be like I do agree. 2022 will at least be a vision or a reflection of what 2024 could look like. And to me,
it can secure a 2024 election.
And to me, whoever loves freedom, Republican or Libertarian or Independent or even on the left, they need to get behind the things like the audits and the things like the voting laws and stuff within reason that will make sure that you can't cheat and crack down on fraud.
Cheating's bad.
To the likes,
fair for everybody.
Yeah, didn't we learn this when we were 3?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's one of those things, and also don't take things that aren't yours, namely votes. So,
yeah, exactly.
Again, didn't we learn this when we were young?
Right.
So, but yeah, and what's sad when we were going over this is that the people that say, and I'm not going to do the voice. They don't know how to get online. It's just like, well, that's racist.
Yeah.
To say that about people that are in the minority groups.
To sit here and say that these voting laws are making it harder for minorities within itself is racist, because that's legitimately claiming that minorities don't know how to go to the DMV and register to vote to get a voter ID.
It's very sad.
I mean, felons, but yeah, but that's not a race thing. If you're a felon, you just can't vote.
It affects everybody.
That's how that works.
Affects everybody.
Yeah, it doesn't matter about the statistics of how
And
many.
we can go
are-
into criminal justice another point, because I actually would be of the opinion that if you've paid your debt to society, so called, by being
Yeah, I
in
mean
jail,
that's up for debate as
Right.
is. But I mean, I'm just saying as it
oh,
stands.
sure.
Yeah, as it stands. Yeah, that whole thing is up for debate as it stands for sure. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm saying as it stands now. No, I mean, saying that these voting laws coming into place in certain states are racist and making it harder for minorities is racist within itself, and because you are calling minorities stupid because they don't know how to access the internet, or they don't know how to get the information to go to the DMV and register to vote, and to sit there and say that they don't know how, they don't have access to internet. Well, nearest library,
and you've got a family member somewhere.
Right, exactly. Everybody has connections to something, and if you want something enough, you can get it. So, yeah, that's racist within itself, saying that these are making it harder for minorities, because that's singling them out for one instead of focusing on, is it making it harder for everybody? Yeah, it's not. It's a pushing a narrative thing. It's horrible. It's bad.
That sounds like a good conclusion to me. We want to hear your thoughts for sure, and please comment on this video. That's a really good way of doing just that. But also follow us on social media. So I'll go ahead and tell you, Instagram is run by this man, Telegram is run by me. Those are the best ways to get in contact with us or to follow us. But also comment on this video and share it. There's also eventually going to be a Spotify link to Zoo Nation's podcast. We'll get that up and we'll share that as soon as we can. But please comment your thoughts and let us know what you're thinking about, what you thought of this video. And until then, we'll catch you on the next upload. My name is Josh.
My name's Nathan.
And have a great evening, and thank you for watching.
I have come to one inescapable conclusion about the GOP and the media. I want to see if you agree or disagree with me. Even though Republicans are out of power right now, the use of the media, their use of the media, has a major impact on the Democrats and on political dysfunction. So this, what I'm about to say, directly impacts President Biden and his administration. All right, are you ready for it? Here's my conclusion. Tucker Carlson is the new Donald Trump. Tucker has taken Trump's place as a right-wing leader, as an outrage generator, as a fire starter. And it's all happening on Fox, just like Trump's campaign did. Which means Rupert and Lachlan Murdoch are ultimately responsible. I mean, think about all the ways these two men are similar. Every day, Carlson is throwing bombs, making online memes, offending millions of people, also delighting millions of others, tapping into white male rage and resentment, stoking distrust of big tech and the media, generally coarsening the discourse, never apologizing for anything, and setting the GOP's agenda. Sounds like a recently retired president, right? Even before the 2020 election, there was informed speculation about Carlson as a 2024 candidate. Of course, some of Carlson's detractors say, he's just a troll, he's just really good at ticking people off. But isn't that what they said about Trump for years? Yes, Tucker is known to critique Trump and the Republican Party from time to time. This time last year, he was at Mar-a-Lago trying to convince Trump to take COVID more seriously. But Tucker tells the same conspiratorial us versus them story that Trump told. The same they're out to get you story that Trump told for years. It's the paranoid style in American politics all over again. And Tucker now soaks up some of the same social media fury that Trump did. He stokes the same debates that Trump did. And it raises the same predicament that Trump raised 5 or 6 years ago. Whether and how to cover his claims.
Here's why this is downright silly. They're going to do with Tucker exactly what they did with Trump, which is cover him nonstop. They're already starting to do that. Make him a bigger deal than he is. And what they need to understand is a lot of people's entire worldview and ideology is trigger the libs. And when Brian Stelter does this, he's effectively giving Tucker exactly what he wants, which is Tucker is triggering the libs being Brian Stelter. So when you're so obsessed with the culture war, this is a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like the thing that they say they're afraid of, oh my God, the rise of Tucker Carlson, they're going to facilitate that. Now, if they didn't touch his stuff, yes, he has a big audience and he'd keep that big audience, but it would be limited to what it already is. Brian Stelter and these insufferable elite Dems on traditional media, they're going to make him bigger than he ever could make himself. Now, Tucker Carlson is going to lob some bombs at various CNN hosts and MSNBC hosts and call them out by name, and they're going to do the same thing back to him. And we're going to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and nobody's going to say anything of substance. Nobody's going to say anything of substance. Nobody's going to say anything about policy and how to improve the country and how to make everybody's lives better. You're just going to bicker like high school idiots, and it's going to be over culture war garbage. And so now his whole segment is, you know, well, what are we supposed to do with Tucker? Well, first of all, not this. Not this. He wants to trigger the libs, and you're facilitating that. You're allowing that. You're the lib and you're triggered. So you're going to do with Tucker exactly what you did with Trump. They messed up and made Trump president. Why? Because they covered him 24/7. They covered him nonstop. They made a scandal out of everything. One of the biggest problems with the mainstream media is they never get angry at the right things. They always get angry at silly things and then in turn drive more people to the audience of the people they're criticizing. I have no doubt that however many people mainstream media turned against Trump, they also turned that many people in his favor or more. Because again, they covered him in a way that was so silly and so lowbrow. I mean, I remember the best example of this. I remember when Trump was doing a rally and he said that the TPP is terrible, the trade deal is terrible, it's going to rape the American people, it's going to rape us. And they, for a day and a half or 2 days, it was nonstop outrage over the fact that he used the word rape. They may have even invited on like sexual assault survivors to say how the use of that word triggered them. And it's just like, you're performatively being outraged. That's all you're doing. It's performative outrage. It's not real. None of this is real. And so, it turned a lot of people in his favor. They're going to do the same thing. They're in the process of doing the exact same thing with Tucker Carlson. You know, what I would say is, step aside, son. Let the adults handle this, you know? My proudest moments are when people come up to me at Politicon or elsewhere and say, I'm the one who helped deconvert them from that alt-right pipeline and that, you know, right-wing ideology. That nothing makes me happier than hearing that. And honestly, the way in which you do the deconversions is basically the polar opposite of what these idiots on CNN and MSNBC are doing. They're driving more people in that direction. The way that you deconvert people is to make it all about substance, to make it all about policy, to demonstrate how, hey, this ideology is fundamentally incorrect and it's not going to improve your life. It's not going to improve anybody's life. This is all culture war fodder and garbage. And if anything, where they place the blame is incorrect. I mean, half the time Brian Stelter is just calling to censor people that he disagrees with and have them banned from social media. And, you know, we've covered those segments. You've seen them before. And then the other half of the time, he's actively helping the people that he claims to dislike. It's just so sad. Again, the whole ideology of some people is trigger the libs. And then Brian Stelter gives them exactly what they want. You're not helping, dude. You're not helping even a little bit.